Hello everyone and welcome to the Above the Curve Metagame special for Standard. I'm Glenn Jones and I'm joined by Brad Nelson and Todd Anderson. Hopefully he'll open up soon because we're going to talk about Standard, and that's a format you actually had a little bit of success in recently, didn't you, Todd? Didn't you?
Yes.
All right. Well,
sorry, I'll talk.
Was it with thoughtseize? Thoughtseize is our #1 card for Standard. I think pretty clearly going into this tournament, everyone's expecting to get thoughtseized and probably to cast thoughtseizes.
Yeah. So thoughtseize, I remember when fairies was the dominating force in Standard, and thoughtseize into Bitter Blossom was one of the most disheartening draws to play against imaginable. And while Pack Rat is not quite as good as Bitter Blossom was, it's still a very similar scenario where you thoughtseize, take one of their better cards, especially if they're focused on synergy as opposed to just raw card power in their deck, and then you're able to just pick apart whatever threat is the most resilient against whatever the rest of your hand contains. You follow that up with a removal spell and then an Underworld Connections, and then just draw your deck and kill them. Yep. I know, thoughtseize is just an insane card right now. It's great against basically everything except mono red, and honestly, after playing a lot against mono red and Fnatic of Mogus specifically, I don't think the thoughtseize is really that bad against them.
I board in thoughtseize on the draw against mono red. Yeah. Just be able to take that Fnatic, it saves you like 5 life.
Yeah, if they're on Fnatic, I think you need it. If they're not, then that changes things a little bit, of course. But yeah, thoughtseize clearly defining the format, and I expect we'll see a lot more of these mid-range decks with cards that can just kill the opponent as opposed to devotion decks.
Yay, more Jund. Yay.
Yeah. Todd's favorite, actually.
We played Mono Black Jund this last weekend. You can't really complain.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we did.
Nope. Yeah. Don't talk to me.
So one of the cards that has actually, given rise to these devotion decks, and I feel like it and thoughtseize are kind of counterplaying off of each other at this point in the format now, is Nykthos, the Shrine to Nyx. Obviously capable of making a lot of mana. Anyone who reads Open Series quarterfinal coverage saw it make, like 100 in a match this weekend.
I thought a bajillion was a big number, but 100 sounds way worse.
We're getting to actual specifics.
Yeah, when he's like 100, I was just like, bug eyes, I was just going to say, it makes a bajillion. I was thinking like 10.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of Nykthos decks. We've seen, the Colossal Gruul deck was the most impressive, I think, from Makihito Mahara. But we've also seen it in Mono Blue Devotion. We've seen it in Mono Black Devotion. We've seen it in Red Green Devotion. We've seen it in, I guess we haven't really seen it in White yet, but I know that it's been tried.
Jerry did build a sweet version with Pristine Captain, Boris Ragnar, and
Keyword was sweet.
Angel of Serenity. Dude, there was some sphere safeties going on, and I had Heliod making enchantment creatures. My opponent had to pay 14 per attack. It was just...
I'm going to retract sweet.
Yeah.
So, Brad, what do you think Nykthos' role will be as we go into this Invitational?
It's definitely going to be a synergy versus power tournament. We're going to have the synergy decks trying to get under thoughtseize. You can't really go over it unless you have a bunch of card advantage, and so we probably will see a lot of the blue decks move away from Bident and more towards Jace. I definitely think playing a ton of Jaces in your mono blue decks is
just stupid, because Bident's one of the best cards against
it can be one of the best and one of the worst.
It's the only card that beat me the entire tournament.
I mean, it's good, but it can also be bad too. It's a high variance card.
Every spell in every deck can be bad in a situation, but Bident is the easiest way for that deck to get over thoughtseize. If they draw Bident after you thoughtseize them, then it just turns on every little creature that they have in their deck. It makes their deck so much more powerful against you because you're no longer able to grind them out. I know Bident's not on the list, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But
I will still take my stance that we'll see more Jaces, but Nykthos is definitely just the powerhouse, the raw power. You're trying to get those draws where your opponent doesn't have a thoughtseize or be able to fight through one. But when you're not against a deck with thoughtseize, the Nykthos decks have a huge advantage against the other decks not playing that, because they're more mid-range. They're trying to fight with some more raw power, but they're kind of hedging. And a Nykthos deck's that's fine. I will just goldfish for 5 turns with you and be way ahead now because I
turn
got
3
to play
Garrick, anybody?
Turn 2 Garrick.
Well, yeah, the old trip Burning Tree not draw. Yeah, sure, whatever. But a turn 3 Garrick is actually a very real possibility with just turn 1 Elf into turn 2 Burning Tree Caryatid or Burning Tree Voyaging Satyr into Nykthos. It's just it's so easy to cast an early Garrick now with Nykthos in the format that I am just scared to death of the nut draws out of that deck, and that's one of the main reasons why we ended up playing the mono black deck with 4 Thoughtseize, was because we knew we needed some way to aggressively attack those strategies, and Thoughtseize, as well as like all the spot removal, is a very good way to catch up from like falling behind.
Another card you employed in your mono black deck that also happens to be pretty reasonable against Garruk and all other planeswalkers, including Jace. Hero's Downfall.
When this card came out, I was like, yeah, it's a strict upgrade to Murder. Obviously, it's going to be good, but I had no idea it was going to be this impactful. Like, not a clue.
Sure. I mean, I also didn't think it was going to make that big of an impact. Like, I thought that, Dreadbore saw a little bit of play. Hero's Downfall might be see a little more because it's a single color instead of 2. And
it's instant.
But it's instant, but it also costs 3 mana. And that was really, like, the part where I kind of went, eh. But after playing with it a lot, you do see that along with a lot of 2-mana removal spells, it curves very nicely, but it also adds versatility to a deck that can't normally fight against things like Jace, Architect of Thought. The mono black deck in particular has a lot of trouble with planeswalkers if you just take Hero's Downfall out of the equation, and I think that that's one of the reasons why it makes the list, because it allows you to fight not only other gigantic creatures, but it gives you a versatility when fighting against control matchups or other mid-range matchups.
Sure. Oh, it's huge. Like I remember playing the Flesh and Blood Gruul deck a lot, testing for the Pro Tour, and every time I saw an Elspeth, I was just like cringing or like fearing turn 6. And every time I Thoughtseize last weekend at the GP, I would like put Elspeth in the land pile. It's just like, this is completely irrelevant because I have a Hero's Downfall, I have my Saving Grace. Like, the card was just like super powerful, and I think one of the like most important cards to be bringing into a tournament if you have access to black.
Fun fact was that card was apparently sold out in basically the area of Seattle and Tacoma this weekend. SCG sold out at the booth. The stores in the nearby areas at F&M had already sold out. Like, players just literally did not have enough copies for the standard open in Seattle.
It kind of irks me that they make like important removal spells into rares sometimes, but I mean, we didn't see like Dreadbore make that big of a splash, so I didn't think Hero's Downfall would be subject to this problem. But I mean, it's been close to sold out, if not sold out, on Star City's website too for a while. It's just like right when we get some in, it's just snap them off. $8, $13, however much it's gonna get up to. It's just
I like the trend that they're following, that they don't want to put Planeswalker on a card that isn't rare, because Planeswalkers are mythic and they're like the storyline. So like, I understand that you don't want like
you can't have Sanctuary Cat beating up Jace. It doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, our 4th card is a creature, and it won a Pro Tour recently. So
it made Can we say it made some waves?
It did make waves at a Pro
make some
Tour,
waves.
And that is, of course, Master of Waves. Pretty much the poster boy for Devotion in the format. Obviously, we've already talked about Nykthos, which takes you in a different direction. Master of Waves is like a direct payoff as opposed to an engine. This is how you're going to try and kill someone. And alongside Thassa, it really made that mono blue deck that Team SCG took into the tournament, and that Jeremy Desani actually won the Pro Tour with.
Yeah, and I think going into that Pro Tour, only idiots that had access to that deck and didn't play it would have done that. It was pretty bad for anyone that did that.
I can't help but agree with it. So why do you think Master of Waves remains a dominant force in Standard? Obviously, we saw Sam repeat his Pro Tour performance with a top 8 in Louisville, but most people seem to think that the deck would be a bit of a flash in the pan once people revert to playing like Doomblades and Ultimate Prices, as you guys did.
Well, it comes down to like some cards in the deck don't seem that powerful, but you still have to deal with them, and Thassa can still do a lot of damage. But the thing about Master Waves, and I will like be confident with this for Magic forever, is if there's a card that costs 4 mana, and if you do not deal with it immediately, you die, it's always going to be a thing. Like, no matter what. Like, Polo Kranos is an amazing Magic card, but it takes a couple hits before it wins a game. Like, out of a lot of decks, they can ignore it for at least 1 turn and then do something about it. Not, obviously, decks with, like, elves and things like that will have to deal with it immediately. But, like, for example, if Master Waves untaps on turn 4, it'll oftentimes be able to win the game that turn, or put an opponent so far behind that they can't do anything.
I haven't played a standard deck in a very long time that had so many free wins as the mono blue deck, and I think that was one of the crushes I was leaning on when I was so torn between playing mono black and mono blue at the Grand Prix last weekend was that I was getting so many free ones against decks like mono red and green white aggro and things like that. But I was convinced by Brad, and rightly so, that black was a better choice for that tournament because people were going to adapt with more Doomblades, more things like that, more Polo Chronos, more Mistcutter Hydras, things that were just going to be problematic, and I wasn't going to get all those free wins. And lo and behold, I didn't really play against mono red or green white at all in the tournament. Like I played against a black green white deck once, but it was still like thoughtseize, into giant, Reaper of the Abyss or whatever. But I mean, as the story goes, I think Master of Waves is going to continue to make big splashes in Standard. I did that because you stole my Waves pun, so whatever. Screw you guys.
All right, fair enough. Our last card, which, if you had told me,
really think.
If you had told me 3 to 6 months ago that this card would be coming in at the bottom of most important cards in Standard, I'd have thought you were insane.
I mean, I've been saying this for 6 months, so...
Yeah, but you've been wrong a lot. So. And that card is, of course, Sphinx's Revelation, which, to be fair, we did see it just win a Standard Open in Seattle, so, down but not out.
No, I mean, it's hard. The list is all good Magic cards, and I think Sphinx's Revelation is still extremely powerful, but it's not even the best card in the Revelation decks anymore. It's good. But in a lot of these matchups, against black, it can be a crutch. I the goal that I have when I'm playing the mono black deck is so my opponents will always the rev turn is the turn that they fall behind. They're like, well, I have to rev to even have a chance at this game, but that's the turn I get to resolve an Erebos or a Whip or another Underworld Connections, or I get to thoughtseize them, so I get to take the best card from their 5 cards, and tapping out for 4 of the 5 cards and you lose the best one is never really that good.
Yeah, especially when your deck is almost half lands, because then you're, if you rev for 4, 2 of those are very likely to be lands.
Yeah.
And I mean, the times where you get to hit their second revelation off of the thoughtseize after they, do the first one, just puts them so far behind, because not only do they have to draw more revelations to dig out of the hole they're in, they also have to draw into answers for all of your just gigantic problems. You're not an aggro deck when you're playing mono black against them. You have some creatures that do die to Supreme Verdict, but your threats are actually just Erebos, Underworld Connections, all the hand disruption, that puts you on the back foot, Whip of Erebos, and even Grey Merchant in the very late games when you have multiple copies of Connections or a Whip or an Erebos or even a Nightveil Spectrum play, and you're able to drain them out from 14.
Yeah, it's such a good matchup because Nightveil Spectre and Desecration Demon will be able to force them to interact with them and let you try to sneak in permanents. And so when they are trying to rev, you've already drawn some extra cards. You've made all your land drops. So when they maybe miss a land drop and then they rev, they're still behind.
Sure.
And it just snowballs from there. So I think rev is a very good card in a lot of different matchups. But right now, with how mid-rangey it is not the best thing you can be doing in a field full of Thoughtseizes.
Okay. Well, that wraps up our 5 most influential cards in Standard for the Indianapolis Invitational. Honorary mention to Trading Post. Guys, good luck in the Invitational. Obviously, you'll already be battling, as the viewers at home are seeing this, so hopefully you're doing well.
Can we get to our next round yet?
Can you get to your next round? All right, sure, Todd. I'll let you go.
All right,
Thanks for joining us. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you had fun.